It is becoming increasingly difficult to find a place to buy individual comic books in Southern California. The once thriving market for the serialized comic book has dwindled, and so have the number of comic book stores. In the 1990s, there were about 10,000 comic book stores in the United States, and now there are about 3,000. This presentation will give a few examples of the comic book stores that have disappeared over the last decade or so in the city of Costa Mesa, California. The first comic book store I became familiar with is also the first comic book store I saw disappear. It was located in South Coast Plaza and has since been absorbed by Sears to become an Express Tailor. It was probably the largest comic book store in Costa Mesa has ever seen. It had an outstanding selection of Golden Age comics, as well as a pretty good selection of figures, cards, and modern comics. It departed Costa Mesa over 5 years ago. The comic book store that was located in this building was up some stairs and down a dark hallway. The building used to have a red brick exterior and housed a den of figures and comics. I remember a tiny area filled with a great selection of Ninja Turtles and Spider-Man comics, as well as other comics that were prevalent at the early 90s. It disappeared at least 10 years ago. This was the location of my favorite old Costa Mesa comic book store. It had a diverse collection of comics and was staffed by really friendly people. A few years ago it was bought by the Irvine-based Alakazam comic book store and was later closed. The comic book store that was located here had the standard collection of items to serve people interested in comics. It had pretty cool murals on the sides that could be seen from the 55 freeway. It's been gone for about 3 or 4 years. This was the location of Cosmic Comics and Sports Cards. It had fairly recently been replaced by a chiropractic office. Majestic CCG, founded in 2009, is the last bastion for comic book lovers in Costa Mesa. However, it is primarily focused on customizable card games and has only a paltry collection of about 100 total comics, including duplicates. While there have been at least 6 comic book stores in Costa Mesa, only one remains, and it is hardly focused on selling comics. It seems there is little chance for a comic book store to thrive in the current market. It is interesting to note that most of the comic book stores that were closed have been replaced by services that cannot be provided online. Perhaps this shows a trend that businesses in physical spaces are shifting to non-retail services because of the rise in internet retail. Lastly, the iPad has been very successful with comic book lovers. The Marvel comic book app was ranked 18th out of all apps as of the writing of this presentation. It has been speculated that the option to easily buy comics will either eat into the comic book store sales or will spur renewed interest in comic books and send more people to their friendly neighborhood comic book store. Only time will tell.